Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring the world of alchemy.
Ooh, alchemy.
And you might be surprised to learn that it's about a lot more than just turning lead into gold.
Really?
Yeah. Our source material for this deep dive is an interview with Virko Kade, who practices alchemy and researches consciousness.
Okay.
He presents this ancient practice as a way to understand not only the universe's processes, but also where we fit into all of it.
I love that. So it's not just this kind of woo-woo out there kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
really like a framework for understanding
Exactly.
our place in the universe.
It is, and he even describes alchemy as being as old as humanity itself.
Wow.
Almost like it's been a constant companion to our development across different cultures and time periods.
That's fascinating because the popular image of alchemy is often limited to that idea of turning lead into gold.
Yeah,
But what Kay is talking about goes so much deeper than that.
right. And I think that's a really crucial point because it suggests that alchemy isn't just some fringe idea.
Right.
It seems to tap into something fundamental about how we as humans interact with the world around us.
Absolutely. So, okay, I'm already intrigued.
Me too.
What else makes his perspective on alchemy unique?
Well, he emphasizes that true understanding in alchemy requires more than just reading books or memorizing formulas.
Mm-hmm.
He believes it's about direct perception, experiencing things firsthand.
Okay.
That might even seem impossible based on our current scientific understanding.
Experiencing the impossible. Can you give an example of what that might look like?
He mentions examples like matter seemingly appearing out of nowhere,
Oh, wow.
or changing its properties in ways that current scientific models struggle to explain.
Like defying the laws of physics as we know them.
Basically, yeah,
Wow, those are some bold claims.
they are.
That really challenges the idea that different fields of knowledge are completely separate from each other.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Cade takes this idea of interconnectedness even further with his concept of materia prima.
Materia prima, what's that?
He describes it as a level of reality that exists beyond time and space as we know it,
Okay.
and suggests that our thoughts on this level actually create energetic structures that shape our reality.
Wow.
So instead of a straight line from cause to effect, our thoughts could be influencing things outside of our normal perception of reality.
Right.
Almost like a blueprint that's shaping our material world.
That's the idea. It really throws a wrench in our typical linear way of thinking about cause and effect.
Totally.
Wow.
It really makes you rethink things.
It does.
So how do symbols fit into all of this?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Cade has worked extensively with symbols,
Okay.
and he sees them as concentrated carriers of information that can bridge different dimensions.
Interesting.
They're not just pretty pictures. They hold deep meaning
Right.
and can even act as a focal point for energy and intention.
So symbols are like a language that allows us to communicate and interact with this deeper level of reality.
Yeah,
Materia prima.
exactly. Cade believes symbols can amplify or even enable transformation processes,
Hmm.
acting as a bridge between the non-physical and physical realms.
This is all incredibly mind-blowing, but it also makes me think about the role of time in all of this.
Yeah,
Does time work differently in alchemy?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
And Cade actually believes that the nature of time itself is changing, which has a direct impact on how alchemy works today.
How so?
He's observed that the processes of manifestation are happening much faster now than they did in the past,
Okay.
meaning it requires less time dedicated to study. Got it. And more openness to experience.
That's really interesting, especially considering that in this deep dive, we're aiming to give you the most relevant knowledge quickly and efficiently.
Exactly. It's very meta in a way.
Right. It almost feels like we're entering a time where these deeper understandings and experiences are becoming more readily available.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm starting to have a few aha moments here, but let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the practical side of things.
Yeah.
What does Cade actually do with all this knowledge?
What does he do? Yeah.
Cade spends a lot of time in his workshop,
Okay.
which he calls his witch's kitchen,
Uh-huh. I will love it.
creating all sorts of things, often driven by a feeling or a sense that something wants to come out into the world.
Interesting.
He believes there's an element of intuition and creativity that goes beyond just following strict formulas.
So it's that balance of head and heart,
Right.
or following the process, but also trusting your intuition.
Exactly.
That's fascinating to think about how that intuitive process might work.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of what kinds of things he creates?
He focuses on the practical applications of alchemy, particularly creating tools and remedies meant to help people in their everyday lives.
It's great that he's making alchemy accessible rather than keeping it a secret.
Totally. And he takes it a step further by actually teaching others how to apply these principles themselves through workshops.
So it's not about hoarding knowledge, it's about empowering others to explore and experience it for themselves. He wants people to see that alchemy isn't just some mysterious, exclusive practice, but something that anyone can learn and benefit from.
I love that. Yeah.
That really resonates with me.
Okay, now we're getting to the part I'm really curious about. Kade mentioned connections between alchemy magic and shamanism.
Right.
Are those really all that similar?
That's one of the most intriguing parts of Cade's perspective. He points out that while we often see those practices as separate things, the distinctions are often more about cultural definitions than anything else. The underlying processes and understanding, he suggests, can be surprisingly similar across these different traditions.
So the lines between what we call alchemy, magic, or shamanism can get pretty blurry.
Exactly. He even brought up a pretty wild example to illustrate this point.
Okay.
A Spanish TV show from the 1970s featuring a man named Richard who was called a modern-day Saint-Germain.
Okay, I'm all ears. What happened on this show?
Well, according to Kade, Richard seemingly transmuted lead into gold on live television.
Wait, what? That's incredible. It must have been shocking to see that happen on live TV, especially back in the 70s.
It definitely would have been a challenge to mainstream scientific thinking. It's almost as if it was a dare to the scientific community. Like, can you explain this?
Right. But going public with something like that must have come with some serious risks, right?
You're absolutely right. Kate actually mentioned the tragic fate of Richard,
Oh, no.
who faced a lot of scrutiny and pressure after his televised demonstration.
Wow.
It seems that challenging those well-established paradigms can come with real consequences,
Yeah.
even if you're trying to offer something positive to the world.
That's definitely something to consider. It sounds like Cade is very aware of those risks, too. He mentioned earlier that he focuses more on inner transformation rather than trying to prove anything to skeptics.
He talked about how historically alchemists often disguise their knowledge using code words and symbols to protect themselves and ensure that the information only reached those who were ready to understand it.
That makes sense that they would want to safeguard that kind of knowledge. There's a long history of secret societies and hidden wisdom surrounding alchemy, which just adds to the mystery.
And speaking of the present day, Cade seems to think that the role of alchemy is more relevant now than ever before. He believes that it's about breaking down old dogmas and expanding our perception of what's possible.
Why does he think that's so important, especially right now?
He sees it as a tool for navigating the current state of the world where so many systems are in flux. He believes alchemy can help people see beyond the chaos and find a sense of order and purpose in a world that feels increasingly uncertain.
I can definitely relate to that feeling of uncertainty and wanting to find meaning and purpose amidst all the change. So if alchemy is all about transformation and breaking down old ways of thinking, I'm curious to know what Cade does with that knowledge in his own life. How does he actually practice alchemy on a day-to-day basis?
That's a great question and one that we'll explore further in part 2.
All right, stay with us. We're going to be right back with more of this deep dive into the world of alchemy.
Can't wait. Welcome back. I'm excited to delve deeper into how Cade practices alchemy and the impact it has on his life.
Me too. So we left off talking about how Cade believes alchemy is more relevant now than ever. What's really fascinating is that even though he sees alchemy as this powerful tool for change, he chooses to focus on personal transformation and empowering others rather than things like trying to create wealth or disrupt existing systems.
It seems like he's very conscious of the potential for alchemy to be misused, and that's something he addresses directly in the interview.
What does he say about that?
He actually talks about how that iconic image of alchemy turning lead into gold was almost intentionally put out there as a distraction. It was a way to keep the true purpose of alchemy hidden from those who might exploit it.
That's so clever. If people just thought it was about getting rich, they wouldn't bother looking any deeper.
Yeah.
So what is that deeper purpose that Cade is focused on?
He talks a lot about understanding and experiencing the universe's processes, but he makes it clear that he's not just talking about an intellectual understanding. It's about a kind of direct perception, a knowing that goes beyond what we can grasp with our rational minds.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's still a bit abstract. Can you give me an example of what that kind of experience might look like?
He mentions things like witnessing matter seemingly appear out of nowhere or change its properties in ways that science can't explain. For him, it's about pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible and directly experiencing those possibilities.
That's definitely pushing the boundaries. So how does consciousness fit into all of this?
Kit believes that our consciousness plays a key role in these processes. He suggests that our thoughts and intentions can actually influence reality. especially when we tap into that deeper level of materia prima that we talked about earlier.
Right, that causal level beyond time and space where our thoughts create energetic structures. It's like a cosmic blueprint that shapes our material world.
Exactly. And if we can access and work with that level of reality, we can start to influence things in ways that might seem impossible from our ordinary perspective. It's about recognizing that we are not separate from the universe, but rather active participants in its constant creation.
Wow, that's a really empowering way to think about it. But let's come back to something a little more tangible. Cade talked about working extensively with symbols. How do those play into his practice?
Remember, for Cade, symbols are more than just pictures or designs. They're concentrated carriers of information that can bridge dimensions. They can amplify or even enable transformation processes, acting as a kind of language that speaks to that deeper level of materia prima.
So symbols are almost like keys that unlock certain energies or possibilities.
That's a great way to put it. And it makes me think about another interesting thing that Cade mentioned. His observation that the nature of time itself is changing, and that this is directly affecting how alchemy works today.
Okay, I'm really curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
What does he mean by time changing?
He's observed that manifestation processes are happening much faster now than they have in the past. This means that it requires less time studying or preparing, and more emphasis on being open to experience in the present moment.
That's fascinating. Especially considering our goal here on the deep dive is to get you the information you need as quickly and efficiently as possible. It's almost like alchemy is aligning with that desire for immediate understanding and experience.
Right. And I think it highlights the potential for these deeper levels of understanding and experience to become more accessible to everyone.
This is all incredibly mind-blowing. But I'm also curious about the practical side of Cade's work. We know he spends time in his witch's kitchen creating things, but what does that actually look like?
He talks about his creations being driven by a feeling, a sense of something wanting to come out into the world. It's not just about following formulas, but also about tapping into intuition and creativity.
So it's almost like he's channeling these creations from a deeper source.
That's a great way to describe it. And it makes me think about how he emphasizes the practical applications of alchemy. He's not just making things for the sake of it. He's focused on creating tools and remedies that can be used to improve people's lives.
It sounds like he really wants to make alchemy relevant and beneficial to people in their everyday lives.
Yes. And I think that's one of the things that sets him apart from some other alchemists, who might be more focused on those flashier demonstrations like turning lead into gold.
That makes me think about Richard the Alchemist, who was on that Spanish TV show back in the 70s. Cade mentioned his story as an example of the potential dangers of going public with that kind of knowledge.
Right, and I think that's an important point to consider. Cade acknowledges that revealing certain knowledge can be risky, especially when it challenges existing power structures or disrupts the status quo.
So it's not just about the knowledge itself, but also about the wisdom to know when and how to share it.
Exactly. Cade seems to be much more interested in personal transformation and empowering others, rather than trying to prove anything to skeptics or create technologies that could be used in harmful ways. He talked about how, historically, alchemists often disguise their knowledge, using code words and symbols to protect themselves and make sure that the information only reached those who were ready to understand it.
That adds a whole other layer of intrigue to this whole topic. It's like a secret society with a hidden language. But coming back to Cade, it seems like he's found a way to share his knowledge safely and responsibly through the workshops he offers.
Absolutely. He's made a conscious choice to focus on teaching others how to apply these principles in their own lives. He wants to empower people to experience the benefits of alchemy firsthand.
What are some of the things that people can learn in his workshops?
He offers workshops on a wide range of topics, but some of the key areas he focuses on are creating alchemical substances, understanding time and telepathy, and working with energies.
Wow, that sounds incredible. What would someone need to get started with these workshops? Do they need any special equipment or prior knowledge?
Cade makes it very clear that his workshops are designed to be accessible to everyone, regardless of their background. He actually sends participants material so they can start experimenting right away. And there's no need for any expensive equipment or years of study. It's all about getting hands-on and experiencing the principles of alchemy firsthand.
That's fantastic. It really aligns with that idea of alchemy becoming more accessible in our time. It's not about being part of an elite group. It's about empowering everyone to explore these possibilities for themselves.
And I think that's one of the most powerful messages that Cade conveys. Alchemy isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's about transformation, about changing the way we see ourselves and the world around us.
That brings us to a really important question. If we had to boil down the essence of alchemy, what would you say it is?
I think Cade puts it beautifully when he talks about understanding creation processes. It's about realizing that we are not just passive observers of the universe, but active participants in its constant creation.
He uses the term plasma to describe the primal substance from which reality is formed. Can you tell us a bit more about what that means?
He explains how our intentions shape consciousness into energy, and eventually that energy can take form as matter. It's about recognizing the incredible power of our thoughts, intentions, and actions to shape our reality.
So at its heart, alchemy is about understanding our own creative power.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have the potential to shape our reality through our thoughts, intentions, and actions. And that's an incredibly empowering idea.
It really is. And it makes me think about some of the stories and legends that we've heard about alchemy throughout history. There are all these tales of secret societies, hidden laboratories, and alchemists who were both revered and feared for their knowledge. I mean, you wonder if there's some truth to those stories, or if they've just been embellished over time.
That's a great point. I think those stories reflect a long-standing fascination with the mysteries of alchemy, and they definitely raise some intriguing questions that we'll be exploring in part 3.
All right, well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of our deep dive into the world of alchemy. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were discussing those captivating stories about secret societies and powerful alchemists throughout history, and how those tales might actually hold some hidden truth.
It's really interesting to think about how those historical accounts can give us more insight into modern alchemy. Even if some of those details have been a bit embellished over time, those stories really do reflect those underlying principles that alchemists have dealt with for centuries.
Yeah, you're right. They can't just be dismissed as pure fantasy. It does seem like there's something deeper there. For example, we often hear about alchemists being both revered and persecuted for their knowledge. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it speaks to the power of alchemy, both its potential for good and the possibility for it to be misused. Remember when Cade talked about how alchemists would use symbols and code words to protect themselves and to make sure their knowledge only reached those who were truly ready for it?
Right. He used that example of Richard the Alchemist, who supposedly transmuted lead into gold on live TV back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And sadly, that demonstration put him in a lot of danger. It's almost like that knowledge can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that revealing certain knowledge can have some pretty serious consequences, especially when it challenges those power structures or goes against what everyone commonly believes.
So it seems like there's a real need for balance here. Understanding the power of this knowledge, but also knowing how to use it wisely and responsibly. Because it's not just about material transformation, it's about inner transformation as well.
Right. Exactly. True alchemy is about more than just manipulating matter. It's about aligning yourself with those universal principles of creation and understanding where you fit in the bigger picture.
And Cade embodies that principle by focusing on inner transformation and empowering others. He's not interested in proving skeptics wrong or creating technology that could cause harm.
And that brings us to one of the most famous symbols in alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, yeah.
We always hear about it as this magical substance that can make you immortal and turn cheap metals into gold. But what do you think the Philosopher's Stone truly represents?
Well, to me, it seems like the Philosopher's Stone is more of a symbol for spiritual enlightenment, reaching a state of unity and harmony with the universe.
I agree with you. It's not about finding some magical potion or shortcut. It's about that inner transformation, about refining and purifying ourselves on a deeper level.
So instead of looking for those external solutions or trying to control nature, it's more about aligning ourselves with how things naturally work and working in harmony with those creative forces of the universe.
That's a great way to put it. And that message really speaks to me. It's not about conquering nature or taking advantage of what it gives us. It's about recognizing that we're all connected and working together with a web of life.
I think that's a super important takeaway for anyone listening to this deep dive, especially those who are just starting to explore the world of alchemy. It can seem super mysterious and complex, but at its heart, it's about understanding our place in the universe and learning how to work with those natural forces all around us.
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing is to approach alchemy with an open mind and a sense of curiosity. Don't be afraid to ask questions, try things out, and question what you think you know.
Yeah, Cade's workshops sound like a really great way to explore alchemy in a safe and supportive way. He stresses that you don't need any special equipment or prior knowledge to begin, which is amazing.
It's all about giving people the power to experience alchemy for themselves, to actually see the magic happen.
And even if you aren't quite ready to sign up for a workshop, There's so many resources out there these days. Books, articles, online communities, all sorts of stuff that can help you understand alchemy better. This deep dive is just the beginning.
It's about going on that journey of discovery, opening yourself up to new possibilities and ways of looking at the world.
And at the end of the day, it's about recognizing that creative power within each of us, our ability to shape reality with our thoughts, intentions, and actions.
It's about becoming conscious creators and working together with the universe to create a more beautiful and sustainable world.
Wow, what a powerful way to wrap up our deep dive into the world of alchemy.
It's been awesome exploring these concepts with you.
And to all of you listening out there, we encourage you to keep on exploring, keep reading, keep researching, and most importantly, keep asking questions.
This journey of alchemy is something you can explore for a lifetime, and the rewards are incredible.
Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep transforming.